Everyone, and welcome to OLC4O Term 1B. Today's November 17th, and we are on class number 4. So this is the last day of week 1. Yesterday, I thought we'd be moving on to lesson 2, but I really think it's important to spend more time talking about the writing process because I want all of you to get off to a great start, especially how there's 3 writing assignments in the first unit. Assignment 1 is about the 7 grandfather teachings. Assignment 2 is growing up in your community. And then we have a journal entry. That's a little bit longer writing assignment for number 5. So we've spent a lot of time on assignment 1. So today we're just going to focus on number 2 and number 5. And then starting next week, we'll jump ahead and to lesson 2. So if you're listening to these videos or watching them on YouTube, that's great, and I can see that a lot of you are. But if you can, I'd love to have some interaction with the live broadcast. This is how you do that, by phoning into the studio, listening on the radio, listening to Bell ExpressVu channel 972, and if you have a solid internet connection, then you are joining us on Zoom. I've uploaded the first 3 classes to my YouTube channel, and if you go there, you will see an OLC Term 1B playlist. You click on that playlist and you'll see there's 3 videos. If you are watching this later on, you might see 4 or 5 or 6, so they're all going to go in there. Once I have it broken down into units, you'll see every unit found in one playlist, just to make it a bit easier for you to find out the lesson you're looking for, right? So, and I recommend you watch all of them if you can. It's going to be helpful for you through this course. So you can get the course material and you can read it on your own. But the whole point of these classes is that I kind of unpack some of the material, give you some bonus stuff, and just give you many ways to interpret the material. And more importantly, many ways for you to be successful in this course. And of course, you got to send that work to myself. I need your work so I can read it. And can't stress this enough. Just send me whatever you got. If you've got a paragraph of your first assignment and you're wondering if it's up to expectation, if it's what I need, send me a paragraph. Send me a sentence. Like, seriously, just send me anything you have. Any questions, any concerns, a funny story you'll want to share. Like, seriously, I'm up to hear it. So I just need to hear from you in some form, and that'd be most excellent. And this is how you reach me: through email. Start finding me on Facebook Messenger. Send me a message, and give me a call at the numbers listed on your screen there. So if you're in Sioux Lookout or in that region, phone that 807 number. If you're not and you don't want to get long distance charges, please phone the long distance number. Those are my office hours. Of course, I'm teaching from 10 to 11, Monday through Thursday. Should mention that. This is when I am teaching from 10 to 11. But on Fridays, I'll be at my desk all day from 9 to 3. So give me a call. I will be there to take your call. If I'm not there, I'm just gone to the post office to get a coffee or something like that. But otherwise, I don't go for lunch. I'm at my desk. I will phone you right away if you leave me a voicemail. These are your next steps, okay? So number 1, get in touch with me. Let me know you're getting started and you don't have any questions. Or get back to me if you have any questions. But I need to know that you are able to get started. Number 2, I'd like you to read the first 20 pages of Unit 1. So that's a rough guideline. Don't just read the first 20 pages. Try to read as many as you can. But that's kind of where I expect you to be at this point in the lesson. You should read the first 20 pages of Unit 1. And number 3, you should be trying to complete assignments 1 and 2. You should try to be getting those 2 done and out of the way as we progress in the course. These are guidelines. You don't have to meet these. You can submit stuff anytime you want, but I need to get your stuff as soon as possible. OLC4O is a very writing heavy course in that a lot of your assignments are writing assignments, and in unit 20, if we zoom ahead to unit 4, lesson 20, you're going to have to produce a writing portfolio. And your writing's going to get it's going to get a lot stronger if you get feedback from me and other people, but I'm going to give you feedback on your writing. You're going to become a stronger writer. And the more work you send me and the earlier you send it, the more feedback I can give you. So in today's lesson, we're going to do our words of the day. Today's headline, we're going to look at prepositions. We're also going to look at commas. So instead of me drilling, like all 9 parts of speech, all the kinds of punctuation in one lesson, I just want to break them up. So today we're going to do prepositions and commas. We're going to talk about the writing process, and the writing process is going to help us complete these 2 assignments and every assignment in this course. So here's our learning goals for today. We're going to review the 9 parts of speech. We're going to learn the definition of preposition. We're going to learn the 5 steps of the writing process, and we're going to put them into practice. So those are 2 goals that you're going to have for today's lesson. And you'll know you succeeded in those 2 goals if you can do these 2 things. If you can identify the 9 parts of speech, and if you can learn the definition of a preposition. Learning success criteria number 2 is you use the steps outlined in today's lesson to complete the writing assignments in Unit 1. Assignment 1, Assignment 2, and Assignment 5. You know what? You're going to be successful if you can use today's lesson to complete one of those assignments, either Assignment 1, 2, or 5. So it's important when you're taking a course that you recognize every success you have. I read a great book last year called Atomic Habits. And Atomic Habits, the title of the book refers to molecules and subatomic physics and the little tiny pieces of stuff that make up nature. And atomic habits are little tiny changes you can make. And the author of the book talked a lot about patting yourself on the back and saying, look, I learned this skill and I applied it to this situation and I was successful. And it's good to celebrate the big stuff, like, getting a job promotion or, graduating high school, like that. I hope a lot of you will achieve that. That's a huge thing. But along the way, there's little things that you need to feel successful about, and that keeps you going, right? Keeps you moving forward. So let's jump into today's word of the day. We are working our way through the 7 grandfather teachings. We're on number 4. They're not listed 1 through 7, but this is the 4th one that we've covered. So we've got courage, represented here by the bear. And that's akawedowin. That's courage or bravery. It's to face the foe with integrity. To live with a solid, strong heart. Let's look at that word, heart. Commonly referred to as bravery or courage. And if we look at the word in Anishinaabemowin, it's broken down into 3 components. One of which, so it's, a solid, strong, a form of heart. And of course, we've got that word win. Now, when something appears at the end of a word, we call that a suffix, okay? So the suffix is win. A prefix is at the start of a word, but a suffix comes at the end. So remember, all words are made up of little components that are kind of fused together to make one big word. Some words in English language are very simple. They're just like one letter or like one idea. But many words in the English and indigenous languages and languages all across the world are made up of several parts that come together to make something, to make a larger meaning. So you see the word heart comes in here. And the concept of bravery involves the heart. And I thought that was really interesting, right? So, and then bravery is represented by the bear. In this case, the mother bear has the courage and strength to face her fears and challenges while protecting her young. To face life with courage is bravery. So, some definitions of bravery say that bravery is when you live life without fear. Some definitions of bravery say, bravery and courage is when you actually face those fears. Like it's not like you erase your fear. It's that you confront it, you deal with it. So there's two different meanings there. I don't think either one is necessarily the right answer. I think it depends on the situation or your personal beliefs. This is the definition of courage from the dictionary: the quality of mind or spirit that enables a person to face difficulty, danger, pain, etc., without fear, right? So in this definition, we say it's without fear. Back here, we were talking about, facing our fears. So to face our fears and to do something without our fears is very different. So just something to think about. Courage is something you might want to write about for assignment 1 for the grandfather teachings. I love words. I love their origins. We've got a great quote here before I go into the origins. So this is from Madeleine L'Angel. We have to be braver than we think we can be because God is constantly calling us to be more than we are. It's a great quote. Now, the origin of the word courage comes to us from the Middle English, denoting the heart as the seat of feeling. So we used to believe that our feelings came from our heart, and we still do if you look at how we talk about the heart. And that is from the Old French, courage, and that is from the Latin cor, which means heart. And if you know modern French, you'll know that coeur, C-O-E-U-R, it means heart. So the word courage, it literally means like about the heart, right? So to have courage is to have heart and to have your heart be strong. And if we look at other words with that core root in them, we have the word encourage and discourage, which are discourage is the antonym of encourage. It's the opposite meaning. So if you encourage someone, you inspire them with courage, spirit, or confidence. When you encourage someone, you're strengthening their heart, right? There's that core right there. So if I encourage you, I'm making I'm making your heart stronger. I'm giving you that bravery. But if I discourage you, right? So dis is a prefix. And usually when we add the prefix dis to something, it gives us the opposite meaning. So if I discourage you, then I deprive you of courage. I'm hurting your heart. I'm lessening your hope, your confidence, right? And then the word cordial is an adjective. It means something that's invigorating the heart, stimulating. It's sincere. It's heartfelt. Cordial is also a drink. It's got multiple meanings, but one of them is an adjective. And again, it's got that core meaning in it. So as you break down the English language, it's really important to recognize root words and patterns. And if you don't know the meaning of a word, but you know those root words, you will have a lot of success and you'll understand language on a much deeper level. This is called etymology. Etymology is the study of words. Study of words and their meaning, right? But it's basically the study of words, right? Etymology. So I will bring a lot of etymology into this course. I think it's really important as we go along. So we'll look at breaking down words, breaking down punctuation, parts of speech. So it's very scientific, right? So English is an art form, but I think in a lot of ways it's very similar to science in that you can be very scientific about it. So I think it hits both sides of your brain. So I want to go back to that quote about courage that I love. So the quote goes, "We have to be braver than we think we can be because God is constantly calling us to be more than we are." So this quote, it demonstrates how we can use commas, okay? So there's many, many ways to use a comma. Some forms of punctuation have very limited uses. A question mark, for example. I think the only time we use the question mark is when somebody asks a question. I can't think of another example of when we would use a question mark. Same with an exclamation mark. The exclamation mark is when we use interjections like, oh no, and wow. It's also when someone is yelling or they are giving us a command, like get over here right now, exclamation mark, right? Very limited uses, very specific kinds of way to use them. The comma is used in many ways. And when a tool is used in many ways, there's more possibilities for it to be used incorrectly. I'm going to talk about one way to use the comma. And we're also going to talk about sentence structure, okay? So one way to use a comma is to separate independent clauses. So remember, a clause is the building block of a sentence, right? Sentences are built from clauses. An independent clause can stand alone as its own sentence. So let's forget about because and this second part. If we just focus on this, we have to be braver than we think we can be. That's a complete sentence. We could just put a period there. Done. That's a sentence. We have to be braver than we think we can be. That's a complete idea. It's an independent clause. It's got a subject, we. It's got a predicate, have, to be braver than we think we can be, right? So it's got a subject. The subject does something. It's a complete idea. Same with the bottom here. If I just said, God is constantly calling us to be more than we are, that can stand alone as a complete sentence, okay? So I've got sentence 1, I've got sentence 2. But we've got a conjunction right here in the middle, right? Because, all right? So because is our conjunction. Conjunction, okay? If you've got, let's see if I can do my little illustration here, right? If I've got 2 boxcars, you know, if we're on the railroad and we've got our boxcar right here, there's going to be a coupling, okay? And the coupling is the conjunction. It's the thing that combines them together, okay? So that's sentence 1, that's sentence 2, and this is because right in the middle, right? So it joins my 2 sentences together. And when you do that, when you combine 2 independent clauses with a conjunction, you've got to put the comma in there. So we have to be braver than we think we can be, comma. The comma is also like it's been described as a road sign. It tells the reader to stop. Now, a period is a full stop, a comma is a half stop. So we have to be braver than we think we can be. Pause. Because God is constantly calling us to be more than we are. All right? So this is teaching you how to write a sentence, okay? We're just breaking down how a sentence is written, but anytime you see a word like and, but, for, because, yet, conjunctions like that, they have to be combined with a comma. The comma comes before the conjunction, and it combines the 2 independent clauses. Let's look at today's headline. Women banned from Afghanistan's gyms, Taliban official says. The Taliban are banning women from using gyms in Afghanistan, an official in Kabul said Thursday. The religious group's latest edict cracking down on women's rights and freedom since they took power more than a year ago. So let's break down that headline. I've color-coded everything here. So the nouns are in blue. Noun names a person, place, or thing. Proper nouns name a specific place or thing, like Afghanistan. Our verbs are in green. Our adjectives are in orange, and our friend, the prepositions, are in red, okay? So every word in a sentence can be identified with one of the parts of speech, okay? And the word can be different depending on the context, right? So remember we looked at love. Love is a verb, love is a noun. Some words are nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs, right? So some words do triple, quadruple duty. But in a sentence, the word is only doing one duty, right? It doesn't do multiple, right? So unless the word is used twice in a sentence. So women, that's a noun. And what did they do? And they are also the subject of our sentence. Remember our lesson from yesterday. The subject of the sentence is usually the first thing you hear about. Not always, but it's usually the first word in the sentence, or the first, within the first 2 or 3 words. So women banned, so that's a verb. They are banned from. So remember words like from and beside and under, these are prepositions. They are banned. So we could say women are banned from gyms. And gyms are, of course, a noun. But what kind of gyms are we talking about? We're talking about the gyms that belong to Afghanistan. And that's why we had the apostrophe S. The apostrophe S is showing possession, right? It's the gyms that belong to the country of Afghanistan. But Afghanistan is also modifying gym. It's telling me what kind of gyms we have, right? So remember, adjectives always modify a noun. They have to not modify a noun in the sentence. And so an official told us this, but not just any official, a Taliban official, right? So Taliban in this case is an adjective. It could also be a noun, but in this case it's an adjective. And what did the Taliban official do? They said that, right? Now, you could also flip that sentence, right? You could start it here, and you could say, Taliban official says women banned from Afghanistan gyms, right? And I think in that case, Taliban official would be the subject, but the way they've written it, you can often take apart a sentence and just take this part and swap it over here and move things around. That's part of the editing process, but they chose to write it this way. And it changes the meaning, right? So the first thing the reader hears about is the women. And I think the women are the most important part, even though the Taliban official is telling us this. And if you go back to the headline, I've got a picture of a woman riding an exercise machine in Afghanistan, right? Presumably before they banned her from being there, right? So she's the focus of the story. The story is about her. She's the subject of the sentence. Okay. So a preposition is a word that indicates relationships between other words in a sentence. They tell us where something is or when something happened. So this can be broken down into 2 things. Things happen in locations, and then things happen on timelines, all right? So, and you can see how this is a very useful function of the English language, of any language, right? When we're talking to our fellow humans, we want to tell them where stuff happened. We want to tell them when it happened or when it will happen. Really important stuff, right? So a preposition is a really important part of speech. So it tells us where something happened or when something happened. Examples for time include before, after, during, until, at, in, on. So dinner is at 5 p.m. She slept until 10 a.m. Prepositions also tell us about location. Examples include inside, outside, beside, amidst. The cat is inside the house. That's where the cat could be outside the house. The cat could be on the house, under the house, and hopefully not under, but it could be in the house, on the house. It could be around the house. A cat could be beside the house. he felt alone amidst the crowd. So amidst, great word, right? So he felt alone amidst the crowd. So amidst means to be surrounded by, right? So it tells us where he felt alone. And again, you could break that sentence down into two pieces, right? So he felt alone could stand alone as a sentence, right? He felt alone is a complete sentence. Amidst the crowd is not. Amidst the crowd cannot be a complete sentence because there's no subject. There's no thing or person that something is happening to. In this case, there is. He felt alone. So this would be an independent clause, and this would be a subordinate or a lower clause, right? Or a fragment, right? It could not stand alone as a part of its own sentence, right? But if we combine them together, we get one larger idea, and that idea is that he felt alone amidst the crowd. Okay, and those are prepositions. So what I'd like to do now is I would like to return back to class number, I think it's class number 2. And we're going to be talking about assignment 2. We're going to revisit the assignment growing up in my community. We didn't get a chance to finish it. We started it, but we did not get a chance to finish it. Okay, let's see. Is this what I want? Yeah, okay, let's go there. All right, let's go. Okay, let's go back to my Zoom. We are sharing this one right here. Okay, very good. All right, so we're talking about assignment 2 in unit 1. And assignment 2 is asking you to write about growing up in your community. The first assignment asks for about a half a page of writing. This one asks for 2/3 to 1 page of writing. And that's going to translate to about 200 to 300 words. I want you, if you're writing in pen and pad, I want you to get that pen and pad out and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with your pen or pencil. If you're on a Word document or a Google document, you can go to the review feature or look under the tools feature, depending on what software you're using, and you can do a word count just by highlighting your paragraph, right? But I'm asking you to do about 200 to 300 words. Your rough copy is going to be worth 10 marks. Your final copy is worth 10 marks. And one thing I recommended to everybody in yesterday's class was that your rough copy, this might be more words. Might be more words than the final copy. I emphasized on day 1 of this course that writing is an art form, and I believe that, and everybody approaches writing differently, so one thing might work for you, it might not work for me. But a very common practice amongst many professional writers in many fields is that they write a first draft or a rough copy that has more words than they need, and they take those words and they cut them down. So the process of eliminating is a really powerful tool, right? You write way more than you need, and then you cut the stuff that's not needed. And there's nothing wrong with saying the same thing 3 different ways when you're writing. Say it many ways, and then when you go back and you read it, find the way that says it the best and cut out the other stuff. A lot of times we just use too many words to say something, and editing is a lot of editing is about just cutting out words that shouldn't be there. And the words are useful because they helped us express an idea. Remember, there's really two parts of your brain. There's the part of your brain that just generates ideas and doesn't really care about how they sound or how they're going to fit. It just loves to just talk and spit out ideas, right? And then there's the part of your brain that's more like mathematical and precise and likes to cut things and edit things and change them and make them smaller than they need to be. So the end product here is we're going to have 2 to 3 paragraphs about growing up in our community. So we talked about the 5-step writing process. Planning, in stage 1, we're planning, creating an outline. In stage 2, we're writing and generating material. In stage 3, we are doing our top level. We're organizing, we're making categories. Maybe we're making a title for our paper. So like big picture stuff, top level. Stage 4, we are zooming into the bottom level, the micro level, and we are editing our sentences and cutting out words and putting a comma here and, very microscopic changes. And then, of course, the most fun part for most people, step 5, we are publishing. We are sharing it with the world. We are giving it to our teacher. So I talked a bit about planning, and when we're talking about planning at this stage, I wanted you to write down a list of favorite memories you might have. Try to write down as many as you can. Try to go for like 10 or 15 if you can. Just somebody says, think about your life growing up. I want you to give me a list of as many as you can in 2 minutes, right? And just write them down. Don't think about it. You don't have to use any of them. Just write down as many as you can. Then you pick your top 5. And then you try to see if you can find a connection between them. Because you don't want your writing to just sound like a list of random memories. Because anybody could do that. Anybody could just list a bunch of memories they have. And those memories might be awesome and entertaining. But what's going to push that writing to the next level is finding a way to connect them, right? So all these seemingly random things happen to you, and you have your favorite memories, but why are they your favorite memories, okay? So try to find a theme that connects them all. Here are some memories that I came up with. So I had stopping a penalty shot, checking the traps on the trap line, playing Nintendo with my brother, going to hockey tournaments, listening to my dad play guitar. And then I looked at those and I made an idea web. And I have jamming to music. So this is where I'm thinking about my dad and playing guitar. So that it was a big part of my life growing up. And then we discussed the writing process. And when we do our free writing, we're talking about looking at one of our memories and writing a sentence about it and using sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste, okay? And so for the writing process, I asked you to do a free write exercise and to talk about building up to 15 minutes, trying to write at least 3 to 5 sentences, write at least 3 sentences for each one of your memories, okay? And I'm going to do that with you right now, okay? So I'm going to go back to my notebook here and just erase all this right here, and I'll try to work on my best penmanship. And I'm gonna take one of these memories, and I'm gonna write small, so you can see what's happening here. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about growing up in my community. I'm gonna talk about playing guitar. And I'm gonna be using the 5 senses, okay? So if we're talking about touch, I remember feeling rusty strings on my fingers, okay? I remember smelling the, I think it's the nickel in the strings. And I remember playing along. This is one of my favorite bands growing up, and even still today, playing along to the Smashing Pumpkins, right? Now, so that's touch. This is smell, and this is sound. Whoops. Now, if we look at all of these three, and if we break them up, what these are is they're almost complete sentences. They're not quite there. But I would look at these three examples, and this is like a sentence prompt. Okay, I should write a sentence about I could write a sentence about touch, right? So just off the top of my head, I could say that I grew up in a musical family. I wanted to play guitar because I grew up watching my dad play the instrument. One of the first things I remember is feeling the rusty strings on my fingers as I learned to play, right? So I'm giving the reader just ideas. Like, it's one thing to give the reader the idea of, like, oh yeah, I can imagine a guy growing up and seeing his dad play guitar. Sure, but I want to make you feel the rusty strings on your fingers, okay? I want you to actually imagine what that's like. So I want to make my writing come alive. So, I remember listening to the song 1979 by the Smashing Pumpkins and trying to learn along and play with it, right? So maybe I might even go back and listen to that song 1979 and just imagine that drum loop at the start of it, and the way the guitar sounded and the way it made me feel, and the lyrics and things like that. So, and then the smell of a guitar string, like when you play guitar, especially when the strings are rusty, that metal actually like gets into your pores, and you can smell it on your fingers like after you've played, right? So every one of these could be a starting point. So if I were to focus on music when I'm talking about growing up in my community, I'm gonna take some of these memories, and then I'm gonna generate a whole bunch of sentences, right? And so that's my writing process, right? Is just generating a whole bunch of sentences. And then I want to go into the revision process, right? So the revision process is when we make major changes to our writing, and this is when you take a lot of rough ideas. And by rough ideas, so a rough idea can be an idea that's expressed roughly. It's expressed kind of like it's not fully developed. But a bunch of rough ideas can be a bunch of ideas that aren't organized yet. They're not under a general heading. So you can be you could be an amazing writer, and you could like write 10 amazing sentences, but if those 10 sentences have nothing to do with each other, or they're not connected, then you've still got a lot of work to do as a writer. You've expressed yourself brilliantly or poetically or whatever in 10 sentences, but they need to be arranged in a specific order, or they need to be combined, or the reader needs to know why these sentences are there. So that's what we're doing here. We're organizing. And so when we organize, we are writing in paragraph format, okay? So paragraphs come in many varieties, but the most basic kind of paragraph starts with a topic sentence. The topic sentence introduces the idea of the paragraph. It tells me what the paragraph is going to be about. And you don't have to come out and say, this paragraph is going to be about me playing guitar. You don't have to do that. You just have to say, growing up in my community, music was number one. Or growing up in my family, I heard a lot of musicians. So as a reader, you know that you're going to get a paragraph about me growing up and hearing musicians, right? So that's my topic sentence. Your supporting sentences, they support the topic sentence. So growing up in my family, I listened to a lot of musicians. My supporting sentences, logically, should be about those experiences, right? So as a writer, you set up expectations. If you introduce a topic, the reader expects you to write about it. There's a very famous quote that if somebody pulls a gun out in Act 1 of a play, that gun better go off in Act 3 of the play, right? So, and that's a really explosive example, but it's true, right? So if you introduce an idea and then don't develop it, the reader is kind of confused, like, why would you bring this up? So I've brought up growing up in a community of musicians. My topic sentences are going to back that idea up. And they're going to back it up by they're going to support it and explain it. So yeah, sure, you've said that, but I want you to explain it. And then you're going to conclude. Now, the last sentence of a paragraph is called the concluding sentence, and it restates the idea you brought up at the start. And it also, and this is like next level kind of writing, it should also lead into the next one, right? My concluding paragraph should finish off the idea and then lead you into my next idea. It doesn't state the next idea, but it gives a segue. It leads into it, right? So now if you want, you can type this template out on a piece of paper or just copy and paste it into a Word document. Just write those three things: my topic sentence, my supporting sentences, my concluding sentence. This is a really useful tool if you're stuck and you don't know what to write. What you want to do is you want to give yourself writing prompts. So you could even do this. So I'm going to have a sentence about growing up in a musical family. So what I'm doing is I'm giving myself instructions. So let's do number 1. You're going to write a sentence about growing up in a musical family. Then you're going to have 3 supporting sentences. And then we could even just do dad, grandma. Maybe I'll do dad guitar, grandma piano, and then maybe I'll do buddies, high school band, right? So I grew up in a musical family. My dad played guitar. My grandma played piano. And then, but now that I think about it, my buddy's playing in a high school band. That could be maybe in the next paragraph. So I might change that. So I've got my grandma. I got a way better example, right? So I'm going to change that to my mom cleaning, because my mom used to always clean the house. And she'd always clean the house, listen to music, right? So these are 3 examples. My dad playing guitar, my grandma playing the piano, and my mom cleaning to music, right? So that's me growing up in a musical family. And then maybe my concluding sentence is going to be about, me becoming a musician. Me becoming a musician. And so the concluding sentence is going to be like, growing up in a musical family led to me becoming a musician. Basically, right? I could make it better than that, but I mean, that's going to be the basic idea, right? And then that concluding sentence is going to lead into my next paragraph, which is going to be about me forming my own bands and learning how to be a musician outside of my family, right? So in this case, it's going to be a chronological short little essay about my life, right? So it's going to be about me growing up in this family, having these experiences, and then becoming a musician. So I've got my work here. I've got to write 5 sentences. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm gonna try to include the 5 senses, okay? Especially right here in my supporting sentences, right? I'm gonna make these things come alive, right? So I'm gonna use the rusty strings and the sound of my grandma's piano and the warmth of her house with the wood stove going and my mom cleaning, and I'm gonna give the reader lots of specific examples, okay? So that's my outline. That's how I'm gonna write this thing. That's what I suggest that you do as well for your assignment, okay? When it comes time to edit this thing, it's the same rules apply. Read that thing out loud. Make notes of any mistakes. Make note of any mistakes or things you want to change. I really suggest you do this. Actually read it out loud or record it into your phone and play it back. It's going to make your writing so much better. Ask someone else to read your paragraph. Ask them to look for any errors. Look up any words in a dictionary. And then go for a walk and think about that writing and what it means to you and come back to it. It's really important to let stuff sit and let your brain figure things out, because your brain will do it. Your brain will figure stuff out that you're not doing on your own, okay? It's really important that you do that. All right, very quickly, we're going to look at assignment 5, okay? All right, here we go. Let's go to... Now, is this where we had assignment 5? There we go. Let's share that bad boy. Okay. Let's share class 5. There we go. All right, we've only got about 5 minutes left, but that's perfect. That gives us just enough time to touch on this one. So, your approach is going to be the same with a little bit of tweaking, right? A little bit of changes, but for the most part, it's going to be the same idea, okay? Okay. So for assignment 5, you're writing a journal entry, and it's about me. That's the name of the journal entry. This is a half page of writing. It's 100 to 250 words. You're writing a rough copy for 10 marks, final copy for 10 marks. Now, pay close attention to this, please, okay? You must, all right? You must include a literacy goal you wish to accomplish. You must include details about what you have learned by taking the surveys. This is the temperament survey. This is the survey, you know, that's talking about, are we intuitives, are we sensors, are we introverts, are we extroverts? So look at that survey and what you wrote down. So you have to have details from that survey, and you have to include a literacy goal you wish to accomplish. And a literacy goal can be anything that's related to you becoming a stronger writer or reader, but try to be specific as you can. Be specific. Good writing is specific, okay? Use specific details. Don't use general ideas. Get specific. Now, you may reference the 7 grandfather teachings, and I encourage you to do so. And you may include other relevant information. So that's optional, but you must include a literacy goal, and you must give me detail about what you have learned, okay? We're also going to use the 5-step writing process for this assignment and all assignments we do in this course. So what I'd like you to do, I would like you to choose one of the categories to write about. Extrovert, introvert, sensor versus intuitive, thinker versus feeler, judger versus perceiver. So find one of those categories to write about. Then I want you to write down 1 to 3 literacy goals. Optional, pick a grandfather teaching to write about for this assignment. Sorry, I got an extra word in there. Let's do some editing. Get that out of there. All right, so choose one of the categories, write down 3 goals, and then once you've done that, so for me personally, I would pick the extrovert versus introvert, because I'm a pretty quiet guy, even though I'm a teacher and I'm talking a lot right now. But I'm a pretty quiet, shy person. I don't like walking into a busy room. I like kind of hanging out in the back. In some situations, I'm very extroverted. I love being in the center of attention when I'm teaching, for example, or when I'm on stage. I love being, everybody look at me, focus on me. But in many situations, I'm introverted. So I would love to explore this concept. So introversion versus extroversion, right? And my literacy goal might be, becoming a more confident public speaker. Remember, literacy is not just reading and writing, okay? Literacy is how you use language in your life, right? And we use language in many ways, right? So that's a category. That's one literacy goal that I might have. When it comes to the writing process, I want you to look at your chosen category and your literacy goal, and I want you to choose your favorite literacy goal. So you're going to have one literacy goal. You're going to have one literacy goal to talk about. And you're going to have one category to talk about, right? So one literacy goal, one category. Then you set your timer for at least 5 minutes, and if you can, try to write for 10 or 15. Really try to move up to this. If you can do 5 minutes and not stop, that's awesome. Build up to 10 or 15. Start that timer and write as many words as you can about your category and literacy goal. And I'm going to put a note down here. I'm going to say try for complete sentences. If you can't write in complete sentences, just jot down point form or just jot down words. But you're trying to get to the point where you can write in complete sentences. But not worry about it making sense, right? So I want you to write down as many words as you can. And once you're done, actually count them out. And then maybe set a record and say in 5 minutes, I could write 20 words. And that's fine. Next time, try to write 25, try to write 50, try to write 100, build up to 1,000 words in 15 minutes. Every time you do it, try to write a little bit more. That comes down to the atomic habits, right? So set the practice, build the habit, try to do a little bit better than you did last time. Just even if you write 5 more words, that is fantastic, okay? And then we don't have enough time for today, but then once you have that, you'll come back and you will edit what you have. You can review your chosen category and your literacy goal. And then, most importantly, you try to make a connection between them, right? So you generate the writing, let it sit for a while, come back to it, and then try to make connections, and I guarantee you the ideas are going to come. Ideas come after we've put forth other ideas, and we can choose the best one. So thanks for tuning in today. We're going to come back on Monday, and we're going to start working on Unit 1, Lesson 2.